Go. Very good evening, folks. Welcome to the Duaneo podcast episode. I think it's 10, and we're talking Nrrrl for the third round 3, and previewing this amazing round 2 that we just had. Plenty decent contests as always. Just want to send a shout out first, as you probably would have heard in the mainstream press this morning. Coronavirus has wreaked its ugly head up in this part of the world. And Anastasia Palaszczuk, who has election ambitions in October, is trying to appease the voters once again to shut the border. So it's thrown a spanner in the works, not just on a personal front for me personally, but plenty of others. But we're doing a little bit better than, say, what's happening down in Melbourne. And I just want to echo what I said at the end of this last live stream, that between Coogin and Northern United. Stay safe. And to my two sisters, Bonnie and Sarah, here, girls, and I love yous, and I'm thinking of yous, and just stay safe, and we'll get through this, and we'll move on. Guys, as you would have heard, the news in Queensland today, what does that mean for you? I mean, especially for you, Crossy and Mickey, being on the border, either side of the border.
Yeah,
I'm just Queensland. You chat, Mickey.
Mickey, yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything about it. I'm taking it as it is. Too much speculation. I don't want to get worked up. It affects me that much.
Fair enough.
We just need to get Crossy over the border for the calls.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. So Crossy,
that's it.
Anything you watched that or?
Mate, I've got no idea how it's going to happen, but we will make it happen. Nev, Mickey, and Shori, between the three of us or four of us, we'll make it happen. So bring it on.
And Shori, you actually were lined up to do Gold Coast Rugby League game on Sunday, making your Bar TV debut. So that's front and spanner in the works too at this stage.
Yeah, potentially. I am still an essential freight worker, bringing fresh produce to keep our Queensland brethren fed and healthy. So we'll see if we can tie those things in together.
Okay, guys. So as I said, enough coronavirus chat. We'll just move on with the footy. We still got Nrrrl to discuss, and that's still moving ahead. So we'll talk about the live stream game, which was the one that just passed between Coogin and Northern United, and the score was, I believe, it was 32-12 in favour of Northern United. And so, Crossy, as I may have mentioned to you on the call on this past Sunday, I think Northern United. The true test will come when they play against Ballina on Sunday, but. It's not like they needed any extra attack with Roy Bell having a blinder and, of course, with Brett Kelly scoring a couple of tries. Defensively, they held it well too. Coogin probably beat themselves a bit there in their own attack, and we'll go into that a little bit more in the next few minutes. But what is your take of Northern United? Have they finally pieced up that wall?
Mate, Northern were impressive, weren't they, Duaneo? You know, they excuse me. You can only beat what's in front of you. And on the weekend, they had the task of going up the M1 there and playing Coogin on their home turf. And, I think I tipped Northern to win, but with no great confidence. I thought Coogin, after last week, would come out a lot better team. But, mate, you're right, Northern United, the addition of Roy Bell, Trevor Bolt in the halves, and then, of course, Brett Kelly at the back.
Yeah.
Mate, they look slick, and it was my old mate Clarence Kelly early, that left-hand side that they looked extremely potent down that left-hand edge, didn't they? And they jumped out to a sort of that 18-point lead. And I think I said in the call, mate, I still thought at half-time, if Coogin could string a few sets of six together, they would sort of come back and make a game of it. And other than that one try, and I think you might have even said in the call, Nev, that, we're game on again now. But yeah. I think off the kickoff, they dropped it again, and it was it. But, yeah, look, let's talk about Northern. Take nothing away from them. They played great. And if on their day, if they can string some passes together, they can beat anyone on their day. But as you allude to, mate, their defence will be the big question mark.
And I guess that's also sort of like why I said their real test is against Ballina, because, as you said that towards the end there, Crossy, in that game, that Northern United, they had their guard down in defence. I don't know if they just got gassed or they were complacent, or probably a bit of both. But and I just think Coogin beat themselves. And if I had the huddle on tonight, I could have showed you, because huddle's gone for a bit of maintenance, so it's not available to me. But I said this in the call when Coogin, they're getting up the one end of the field to the other is not their problem. It is the fact that, as I said, they get stage fright, and then this has been in the last couple of games. And I think actually, Shorey, you may remember this remember that semi-final when they played against Tweed. They got up to their own line. I only just thought of this. When they got to their own line, they had plenty of chance against the Raiders in that semi-final, and they just couldn't put it away. Do you recall that that day?
I do. Yeah, I remember thinking they were coming so close, and
yeah, that's right. Now I even remembered that. So
that was an exciting game, wasn't it?
It was. So it's like especially when you got this Caleb Zeeble back as well, and they can get to the other end of the field. But then when I sort of realised that, and look, I've never played in the halves, but I guess I can read a book by its cover. But Sam Grant was on the 10-metre line, splitting it up the middle. He was looking left, but then he had to go and look right. And it's like he was caught in two minds, and we can all agree, you can't, as a half, you can't be caught in two minds. Otherwise, you're going to have a big front row forward come and smack you into the turf. And that's exactly what happened. So whether that's he's caught in two minds himself, or there was just no one there to help him. But when I look back, there was actually two players there either side. I think that's kind of where it is. I think they just panic, and they just need to have something a bit more basic. Whilst I guess Northern United, they're not going to have that. Like, as I said, defensively, you maybe got away with it against Coogin, but Ballina's not going to have. Ballina's not going to be caught complacent in attack. They will, as we saw in the past couple of weeks, they'll make Northern pay if they don't get it right for the whole lady.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll talk about Ballina soon, but they'll just come straight through the middle of Northern. You can see straight away how they'll attack it. But you're right with Sammy Grant there, mate, on the weekend. You called it, Nev. He jumped out of 9 and quick play the ball, and everyone was sort of about 10 metres behind him, But, again, they were too worried about the shape they were going to play on the next play as opposed to playing what was in front of them. And, yeah, they didn't take advantage of the good work Caleb Zeeble did. But, anyway, that's probably enough talking from me. I'll let the other boys chime in. But, I just thought, just to summarise, Northern deserved their victory.
That's right. Mickey?
And I was messaging Sandsy as before we come to air, and I said, mate, you have a particular maybe problem that you think you're going through as a club as to why you're not putting it together. And he said you think it might be the quarters are getting it to him a little bit. If you're dropping too much ball and we're going into quarters, you might only get 4 sets of 6 per quarter at the moment. So you can't get that momentum rolling on. There's far too much drop ball. And by the time you get a bit of a roll, and it's stopped for a 2-minute drink break. So
now, sorry, Mickey. What's a Coogin play? Because Blamble's playing Coogin on Sunday. That's not very unusual. Giving you tips before a big game heading into Sunday, especially two Blamble and Coogin blokes. What's the go with that? If he's giving you false info.
Well, I don't know. It's up to them to hold the ball or not. So nothing we can do about that. And I think the scoreline it was 32 to 12 or 30 to 12 or something. It is, yeah, but I think Sandsy didn't kick any of the goals or something either. So it was it could have been 32-18. So it was one of those games. But yeah, Northern, they just look like they're right on and they're ready to go.
Shorey, what did you think?
Well, I think what Mickey touched on there, the Ballina media relations guy, we had a quick chat the other night, and he was saying that's what it's affecting Ballina in a negative manner as well, because Ballina used to wearing you out, dragging you down, taking you out into deep water and drowning you. But the 4 quarters are giving the other teams an arrest and a break, and they can't get that momentum on. So it is really shaping up, and I think it's done wonders for if you've got a really big forward pack like Byron does this year, it's going to play to your advantage in that sense. Yeah.
So just to go through the Coogin try scorers. So you had Benjamin O'Gorman as one says hidden. So I don't know if that was Casper Turner or Miles Donnelly. So apologies there. I knew it was either one of those two. And Joel Hare. And now Joel Hare's coming up from reserve grade from last year. Had a bad toe injury in the finals last year, and so he's been upgraded now to A grade. And he's a special kind of player, and he's got some serious attacking prowess behind him. And so it doesn't surprise me that he got on the try list this past weekend, and it was off a good pass. So it can happen for Coogin. That just needs to happen, I guess, a bit more often, have a bit more confidence. And I guess when you're ready to play a team like Blamble, which have scored 24 points or 26 points in the first game and 38 the week before. Something that is a little bit alarming is that Coogin in their last 3 games, and you throw the semi-final in this, they've only scored 26 points, and that came to the 2 games, and they were held to nil in the semi-final. So that's the same amount of points which Blackburn scored in their first in a losing effort against Ballina. Now, the other thing you got to look at too is the opposition that Coogin played. Now, they've played Northern United and Byron, both who didn't make the finals last year, and then Tweed, who only just scraped in the year before. And then you look at Balamble's effort when they played the 2 grand finals from last year. Didn't get it done against Ballina, and when that shows that they can score against those 2 teams versus that, and that's sort of a bit of a preview for this Sunday's game as well. So it's basically simple for Coogin. Just it's not the yardage.
Hold on to the ball.
Hold on to the ball. The points will come.
I'm with Mickey.
Yeah. So that was the game that this past Sunday. And so I believe, I don't know what's happened out of the judiciary there because there was a few sin bins and a couple of send-offs and across all the games. I think they started about 6 o'clock last night, and I think they're still going all hours of the night. So they haven't stopped. So moving on to the next game, so Byron defeating Mullumbimby 26-12. So amongst the try scorers there was Abeli and Tunisia, Daniel Gibson, Connor Wilson, Andrew Batiste for the Bay. And then for Mullum, we had Laurie Illis and James Hill. Batiste throwing it over for 3 conversions and James Hill for 2. So now I haven't had a chance to watch this game yet. I was up till 1 a.m. watching the Ballina Maris game. So, Shorey, you were the man who was once again on the sidelines there. What's your take?
I was live on site, but as you know, when I'm not working, I'm partial to a few young Henrys on their sideline there. So, Crossy
how many, Shorey? How many? Can we confirm how many was consumed?
At least a dozen, surely.
Above half a dozen.
Surely.
Above half a dozen, less than a baker's dozen. But it was an exciting match, really good atmosphere. Like, you realise these country footy matches, they're almost like the old school drive-in with all the cars parked around and everyone banked up and watching it. It's got that vibe, right? And the hill at Byron was really fun. They were raucous, and it was a local derby. They're giving the Mullen boys on the bench and a couple of the players on the field a pretty rough time. So Byron going to expect to cop that when they head over to Les Donnelly Field in Mullumbimby.
Are they playing there this year? I think that was the only one Byron derby for the year because of the shortened season.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
But
okay, it's funny.
Well, we got one up there.
So sorry, Shorey, but as you made mention about the drive-in field with some of the cars, I noticed they didn't have that at Casino the other week as well. So I don't think some because of COVID, obviously, some clubs are allowing that, but I mean, it's good that Byron's still doing because I remember playing as a young fella there and having all the cars even then, and it just, and slamming on the horn every time they scored a try. It just adds to that country rugby league vibe. But Crossy, you watched the game as well. What was your take on it, man?
I did, mate. Yeah, I love the old Byron Bay Mullumbimby local derbies. There's been some amazing clashes over the years. It was a good game. I mean, the Bay run out fairly comfortable winners, as Shorey would tell you, but it was much closer than what sort of people would think if they looked at the scoreboard. Mullum had Rory Lillis, I think, in the bin at one point, and Jed Edwards, the good young hooker for them, he actually got sent off for a high tackle on Tommy Merritt. So they were they played a lot of the game with 12 men. I thought they were a little unlucky at times. They got pulled up for a forward pass coming out of their own end once, where they remember that story where they went down the sideline. That was sort of a good attacking raid, and it kind of the day went south from there. But they tried hard. I thought the Bay was good. I thought the number 10 for the Bay, Shorey, not actually both front rows. Big Monty played good. Actually, Monty was throwing 20-metre cutout passes at one stage. But the other front row, who's obviously a new addition to the club this year, whose name eludes me, Nev, you might know who it is, but he wore the number 10. He was super impressive, I thought.
And it is a bit of a worry because a lot of the Bay players are coming down from north of the border. So
that's it too. I know Andrew Batiste does.
Any exceptions for that? Yeah.
Correct, Nev.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see what happens because there was a few names in there, and I thought, well, Andrew Batiste is one that springs to mind. He still lives up the north side where I spend most of my weekends, where I'll soon be a resident up there. So
He does.
so that's going to be like that's
and I think a few of those big boys in the forward pack too, Crossy.
Mm.
So what was the number 2 score trier's name, Dwayne? The big Fijian?
No,
I don't know either, but we're going to have to learn it.
Okay, well, I hope I get it right. It's Alabelle and a Tunisia.
Annabella and a Tunisia. Well, I'm going to learn to say that name
or
correctly because Tunisia. So I'll figure
yeah.
out how to pronounce it correctly because we're going to be pronouncing that name a lot this year.
Yeah,
he plays really well.
Yeah, he's a big boy too.
And he just wants to score. And they brought him right in, like Byron were right on the Mullum line, and then he came in and just had a big front row run. And yeah, they call him the wrecking ball. That boy.
He could play in you could throw a number 13 jersey on him. He could run 60 meters up the center, and that's what he did against the Coogin the other week. He's an absolute beast. And so it
does remind you. It does remind you of a Rudd Rudge or a Micah Sevo, doesn't it? Like that's what it's like. Yeah.
Well, everyone's from the sidelines yelling out Sevo. So he's
really,
that nickname.
Probably love it.
Mickey, did you have a chance to catch any of it or have any input?
No, I didn't get to see the game, but from the results, what we talked about, that leaves, I think, Tweed Coast, Ballina, and Byron Bay are the only 3 clubs who won their first.
That could be correct. We'll go for
2
the
games.
Yeah, we'll go for.
Oh yeah, sweet. That's what I was going to say. We were thinking, like, just from it, the for and against, Byron might even be on the top of the ladder after the first 2 weeks.
They are by 2.
Yeah, well,
2.
I didn't have them there up the top of the ladder.
Yeah.
So it's definitely it's a good surprise for a few people, I think, and if even Ballina and Tweed Coast must be pretty close up there as well because they had a pretty good win on the weekend. So it's going to be a pretty tough comp, and like you said, you take every win because you get in this 10-round season.
Well, that's the thing though. Every team from Byron North is probably going to feel somewhat of the pinch if the border restrictions does tend to play havoc. So, but anyway, watch this space and see what happens because it's affecting everyone, as I may mention at the start. So, and I know because I saw. I mean, if I had more info, I'd be able to alliterate. But I know the soccer competition on the football Gold Coast competition, which actually have they're obviously a Queensland-based competition, but they had like 3 or 4 teams from New South in that team. So wonders how that's going to go. So anyway, we'll just see what happens. But at least I think in Byron they probably won't be any more affected than say the Raiders, Blamble, Coogin, where they'd have a lot of cross-border players coming from there. Be interesting to see if there's any, I mean, you could probably vouch for this, Mickey. How do you reckon Blamble go? Say if worst case they weren't allowed over.
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, okay, no. I'm taking it. It's going to be a pretty well. You might have to strap in. You might have to be out of the commentary. You might have to leave the commentary box for a while and play for A grade for a while. Is that?
Oh, yeah. No, they're not going to get that desperate, surely.
Oh, mate. And I hope Byron doesn't get desperate where I'm going to have to strap on the boots and be Alabelle's other winger on the other side. Could get
the big question is though, Nev. The big question everyone wants to know is who would Shorey play for? Would it be Mullum or Byron? That's what.
Look at his
hat.
Would
be the big question.
Look at his hat. He just threw that on the moment I hit record.
I wonder though.
No question.
Some people say.
But if Mullum had a 1 on the weekend, would he be wearing the Giants?
100%.
Oh, mate, he's got a Mullum shirt. He has got a Mullum shirt too. So I must iterate.
He floats with the breeze, that bloke.
Sure thing, Shorey, mate. He's sure thing, Shorey for a reason.
He's good.
All right. So moving along. So the other match from round 2 is Morris Brothers and Ballina. So that was a 28-16 win. It was a lot closer than it was one of those what Shorey said where Morris Brothers they were actually they had it level. I think it was level at the first quarter. So Hayden Hansen scoring the first couple of minutes, and then Josh Patson came back pretty straight away and made it 6-all. And then Max Elliott, he got sent in for a bit of a love tap. And then Dwayne Anderson scoring a double as well. So he's already up to 5 tries for the year. So making it 10-6. Oliver Egan did a and this is what I wanted to show you on Huddle, because now because of the maintenance, and I've spent like 2 hours chopping it up last night. So Oliver Regan made a pretty decent game saving saving try, which could have, I think
it's a tackle of the year, Nev, don't you reckon?
Did you see it?
I saw it, mate. It was on Isaac Lee. He was going to score for all money, and Ollie Regan cut him in half.
And that would have, I reckon that was a momentum changer for Ballina at that point, because it was.
It's got to be his first tackle of the season, though.
and then Ballina hit back towards the end. Michael Duane scored a good line break try, and then Jake Hoban made it look a little bit respectful, but Ballina just doing what they do. They just play from the outside, just see what the other opposition can do. When they realise that they've done their best and Ballina's still got plenty in reserve, they just take it away like that. And wasn't a blowout scoreline by any stretch, but I just think it was Ballina just always looked like the team in control, and I believe that's even while it's not the blowouts that they so far that they've produced from last year, which made them like win every game but a couple. But I still think they're the consistent team, and they also remind me of like the Burleigh Bears, as I said from time to time, covering the Burleigh Bears for the other week on the Saturday up there, and it just same deal. That's just how it works. Is just see what the opposition can do, because chances are when they play someone like the two champions from either the Gold Coast competition, the Nrrrl, they're going to show their best. Balance is right. That's all. That's your plateau. Now you're going to see what we got, and boom, and that's how they win. So, what are your takes on the game, gentlemen? Trossi, you watched it, so we'll go with you.
Yeah, mate. I thought it was a closer game than the score reflected, as you said. Although Brothers did score a couple of tries off kicks, so whilst it was a closer game, Brothers did get some joy off the back of some kicks. I thought for Ballina, I thought Zach Beecher played really well. He probably a guy who doesn't get a heap of raps, played in the centres. Every time he touched the footy, he did something good with the ball, you know. He was really good. You mentioned the Regan tackle. Michael Duane, as you said, mate, he broke the game wide open with that 50-metre solo try. That was outstanding. For Brothers, Josh Patson was excellent. He tried really hard all day.
He's a special player.
He is, mate. He's a good player. I remember speaking to Chrissy King at the back end of last year about possibly looking at getting him up into the Queensland Cup, but obviously that didn't sort of translate this year, as we know. But Maxie Elliott's an interesting one, isn't he? You mentioned him off to the judiciary. I was keen to find out what happened at the judiciary. He does. He sails very close to the breeze, Maxie. That's 2 weeks in a row he's been in the sin bin. So he plays with his heart on his sleeve.
And I also had a bit of a highlight reel, well, just a couple of them. Of course, your mate Mitchy Krause was also getting a couple of love taps from Bowen as well. He doesn't miss out, does he?
He does not miss out every week, Krause. They always try to find him. On a serious note, I was thinking about this yesterday after I watched it. I think Brothers really need to sort of somehow alter their attack to get Krause in the game. You know, he had a pretty quiet game on the weekend, Krause, I thought. What did you think, Nev?
I thought he was decent. He made the meters. I think he made. I think it without making too many line breaks, he was effective. He made some good assists. He was. And I mean this in the best regard, but he was stubborn. He was slippery. He was just, Ballina, like when you're playing at fullback, you have a couple of your defensive line required to try to. And that should be enough to get him down. But you need like 4 or 5 players to bring him down because he's just so slippery and runs backwards and runs side on. And then you think you've got one leg and then he just frees up the other. And then he just, he's like Conor McGregor of the way he just slips and slides and maneuvers. And that's just part of his athletic, prowess is that he's just so slippery. And, But I mean, and that's why I think it frustrates Ballin, and that's why he's always getting love tapped, I guess. But
talking to Luke Douglas yesterday, and Mickey mentioned it last week about the quality of his sort of passing game and stuff. He was good again yesterday on the weekend. But speaking to him, and he was happy with the win. He said Brothers were very nice and physical, quite a big side.
Yeah.
So that'll be a good game this week against Byron Bay. But Dougie said that, he thought their guys were okay, and they probably, as you alluded to, mate, they probably just did enough what they had to do. They just keep raising the bar each week when they need to, don't they? So
yeah. And so, Shorey, did you catch any of that game at all, Marist and Ballina?
I didn't catch any, but just speaking with Ballina Club, they just want to make mention, they were a bit concerned, Jamie Lyon leaving, what kind of a hole is he going to leave? But Luke Douglas has really stepped up and filled that hole, and they all love him around the club, and he's got all four grades training together, so all the premiers there, and they're really happy and positive with how he's filled that gap, and they're looking forward to the season ahead.
And Mickey, anything you wish to add, Maris Ballina?
I just saw a couple of the highlights of that game. Is Dan Edison the hooker? Is he the Ballina hooker?
Nah, Michael Dwayne's the Ballina hooker. So.
Oh, is he? Well, yeah. I think he scored a try where he just kind of.
Dwayne Anderson, he's a winger.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, the hooker.
Michael Dwayne, yeah.
It looks like he stepped about 5 people on his way to score under the sticks. A real great run and just straight through the middle there. And that's, like you said, those forwards, perfect momentum, quick play of the ball, and he'll eat meters like that all day. Probably didn't expect to go as far as he got, ran about 50 meters, and that's just laying the platform from the forwards. They got a great forward pack. They showed it last week, showed it this week, and I think that's where you're going to have to stop them. You're going to have to slow them down and not let those outside backs get the big roll on and the early ball. So it's a tough ask, but I think that's what you're going to have to do.
Well, that Michael Dwayne trial was all over the Ballina Instagram posts for the best part of Sunday evening. I couldn't escape it. So, but I mean,
Michael Dwayne was posting it, was he?
No, I know who was posting it. It was the same bloke that the same bloke who got you mixed up, Mickey. He got you because there's a Michael Coleman in Ballina, and it was prior to that Byron Ballina game, and it's like, and then he also had 5-finger death punch playing. So I just think, and I said to him, I said, mate, the bloke who's running it, I said, mate, that's like Nickelback on steroids. I mean, so in other words, you could run fast, but if you have steroids, you're still not going to be the best runner. And so when you have Nickelback playing, well, no, there you go. I said, mate, to him, you've got to play a bit of Parkway Drive for your music, otherwise, or is that 22481 for you? And Mickey, that's Byron postcode. So, and apparently we're also the Byron podcast, but and I said, but we're not pay per view, we're not Byron Pay. So, no, they do a good job at Ballina, and they good, and they look up the social media well there, and they'll do a good job, no doubt, against Northern United. And that's going to be a cracking game too, because Northern United, they've showed they're on the up from up last year, but the true test comes against Ballina. So we'll wait and see what happens with that one. So moving forward, we had what was next? So we had we'll go to the Tweed Coast Raiders versus Casino. And so I honestly thought it was going to be a closer game, but the scoreline itself, when you look at it on paper, doesn't really surprise me because, as I said, I think I said towards the end of last week's podcast, I said Tweed Coast defend too well and Casino just find a hard time. It's sort of like where Coogin is at the moment, not knowing where their attack's going to come from, and that explains why the 6 points is on the board for them. But Tweed with the 30, that's because Casino, they've got pretty solid defense too. So, Mickey, did you catch that one at all? Can you see how did Tweed manage 30?
Yeah, well, I watched the game, and it was actually all Casino at the start. Their halves just putting in perfect kicks. Yeah, their half back just kind of, I don't know if it was the game plan, but really long kicks down the field earlier in the tackle count, trying to turn the Raiders around, and they scored the first try off a kick. Just
Luke
perfectly
Torrance,
placed grubber. Yeah, it was a great try, and they were playing real good. Then once Tweed Coast started to get that slow roll on, they just come right back into it. I thought Jack O'Brien had a great game for the Tweed Coast Raiders because he's just like an extra forward. Reminds me a lot of Blake Ferguson when he plays, just that first hit up, that first kick return, and he's huge as he is. He scored a try.
Is he
himself.
number 5? Number 5 on his back?
Yeah.
I've got notes on him here. He was my biggest impact player. He was so fast, so strong.
And he dropped the ball early, but I think that just got him even angrier, and he had an even better game from that. So he played really well, and they got the addition of Lyndon McGrady. I think he was at Tweed Seagulls. So he slotted into 5'8". Kirk Murphy played really well at lock 2. But I was talking to Drew Lanston, who's captaining now, and I said, what are you most happy about? You've scored this many points, you've won 2 games. And he said, actually, it's it's the team's defence that they're most happy with. They've only had 3 tries scored against them all year, 2 against Casino, 1 against Mooloolaba last week, and 2 of the tries were off kicks. So it's tough to defend those. So he said they're really happy with their defence, and with the injuries that they had, those people that they're calling up can just fill in those gaps, and they're coasting along really well. And I don't know if Michael Gordon is available to play like he wanted to, but if he slots in somewhere in the team, they're going to be I had him as a dark horse kind of thing, but maybe they're right up there with title contenders. So.
Yeah, they might have found some old groove. Like they got Tarn Robertson back as well, and he was amongst the try scorers. You had Jack O'Brien, Don Murray, Braden Matthews, and Dan Willoughby amongst the 2. So Braden Evans also adding 3 extras, as well as Joe Olive, just the 1. Crossy, did you anything you want to take from that one, all Tweed and Casino?
No, look, I didn't watch that game. That's one of the ones I didn't see. But just what Mickey said then on if Lyndon McGrady has turned up at Tweed Coast Raiders, is that right? Is that what you said, Mickey?
Yeah, 100%. He is. He's 5'8". He carved. He was throwing dummies. He was sliding through. He set up Dan Willoughby's first try, and he's just, he played really well.
Yeah,
So,
I could see the 6 and the 9 for Tweed were linking up so well, and they look like a really dangerous combo. I thought that first try that Casino did score was against the run of the play, and then Tweed came out. They played pretty clinical football, and they just came up and played and just smothered Casino, and they looked like to sap the energy out of them. I thought they looked a bit drained, Casino there. And then a lot of nice attacking play combining the 6 and 9. And what else? There was an injury to the guy you were mentioning, the number 5, late in the game. So it'll be interesting to see how he pulls up next week. I think he'll end up going off. So hopefully it was just something, not too serious.
Okay. So Crossy, you had a couple of Casino players message you before. Were they giving a bit of a rap on I see you got the maroon coloured shirt on. So you found your old roots again, mate.
Mate, I'm a Casino Cougar through and through. Actually, I got a bit of stick. I caught up with Jamie Lyon the other day, and he ran into a couple of blokes in Casino, and they were sort of into me about saying I'm from Byron Bay. So I actually was born in Casino.
There you go.
Yeah, till I was about 9.
Yeah.
So I'm a Cougar. Moved to the Bay when I was about 9. So, so the boys like to remind me of that. So, yep, that's 100%. But just in relation to Casino, because we don't want this podcast obviously to be too Northern-centric or Byron Bay-centric, of course. But, I had a message from Brad Burney, actually, mate of mine from back in the day, Casino, great old club stalwart, Brad Burney. And he was saying about, obviously, the changes this year in the club that we know that Roy Bell's gone. We know that Trevor Bolt's gone and Denzel Dangerfield. But they've picked up Jason Ouchen this year as the coach. Jason Ouchen was an outstanding footballer back in the day. Played for the Bulldogs, played for Western Suburbs Magpies. And apparently from what Byrne was saying, all the boys love him. Really good coach. James Torrens has come back. He was going to play in the Queensland Cup in the under-20s this year, but obviously with that competition not running, he's back. I'm just trying to think of McGrady's come back to the club. He's, I think,
Thomas
playing
McGrady.
at 5'8". Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a young half they've picked up there. I think it's Joe Olive.
Joe Olive, he played Cargill last year. He actually plays.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's him, Nev. Yeah. So they've had some. Obviously, they've lost some experience and stuff, but they generally that forward pack's the same. And I'm glad to hear what Shorey and Mickey said, that Casino started that game well against the Raiders, because we know that they started well against Brothers. So, let's hope they can march on. They'll have to, with a close loss round 1, big loss on the weekend. They've got to get their season started this weekend.
And I must iterate, Crossy, and I'll just follow through on that, and as well just follow through what I said last week. They haven't got a bad team. They've got some great players out there. They're just and I said time and time again, I said, you've got a player who you got one of the Tyrell Roberts, as I made mention. He played 2 seasons ago. He was playing under 16s Andrew Johns Cup. They were playing 30-minute halves. So now they're playing just under that in quarters. So it's a change. It will come. As I said, give the Cougars time. They're gonna, if they can keep those boys together, and you can throw Kudjan in this racket as well, because with all the reps they've got in the juniors and the under 18s that are coming to filter through. They keep those boys together. They'll be up in the top 4, no doubt. Probably give it a couple of years. It just got to give it time and the fact. Sorry, Mickey.
I was just going to say it's a tough one because sometimes, one of our kind of ethic ways at Bilamble is we want those younger players to go off and play those better kind of routes of football.
Right.
Like it's awesome if they end up back valley and they play A grade, but you want those players going off when we see
Well,
that's
true. That's true.
Playing for the Titans and the Luke Garner's playing for the Tigers. So I know what you're saying, Duaneo. If you can keep those core players together, it's every local footy club's dream. But at the same time, you kind of want to give them that kick out the door and say go off and try to do this and try to do that, then come back when it is. So that's why I think the bigger tier comps ceasing for the season is good because you get those local players returning to the club and it's a cool back to local footy atmosphere and you get these returning players. But sometimes you don't get the luxury of keeping them at the same club for a few seasons.
I think you got to find like a good median, good balance in between the two, I guess, because there's probably, as I said time and time again, and I've said it numerous times, that there's a reason why Ballon are so successful every year because they've got the same players who have go to school together. They play. Some play cricket together. Some, they were mates in primary school when their dads were playing when their dads were playing in the 90s and the 80s, and their family. Coming from someone who actually grew up in a town like a little town called Nrrrl, I can get that feeling because we all grew up there was me and my brother and my 2 sisters, and they were all friends with another family would have the same, they would have 2 brothers and a sister, and they would all be about the same age. And so it's sort of like Ballina on a higher scale, and you just play for each other. It's like, I remember when I was playing for Nrrrl school in the primary school competitions at a casino, which Crossy, that June each year. I don't know if they still have it anymore. But Nrrrl, we only had 100-odd students, and there's like 20 now. But we made the semi-finals against teams like Byron Bay and Ballina and St Finbars, I can say that's a school, and then like Lismore. All these were like bigger schools which had hundreds of students. And with his little old Nrrrl with only 100, and we put out a full team and we played for the Devils on the weekend. And that's sort of like you've got to have that camaraderie with your mates, and it's not just your mates, but family. And that's why Ballina, for me, it's like that. You go around Ballina and there's signs with the last name of players who have played, 2 generations or even 3 generations, like Sheafers, the Sheafers and whatnot. So
Kellners and
Perry. So whilst you're correct, Mickey, that, these players, they want to go as high as they can. I just also think that it's also important as well to, keep as many of those players together, because then when you start bringing in these players from out of town, and it's probably why Byron, and I've said this on the weekend, Simon Kelly from Coogin and being an ex-Byron Bay player, is that the reason why Byron was so successful throughout the years, and this, Cross, is like because they all came from Byron, and there's a couple here and there. And then when you went away, you had a handful in Lismore, and I said that in a podcast with you. Yeah, a handful from Lismore, a handful of Tweed. Great players, don't get me wrong, absolutely gun players, but it's like it's trying to mix, it's trying to mix it, the two together. It's either going to take time to gel together and there's a chance it may not work, or it just won't work. And it's
totally.
Yeah, that's how I say it. Sure. Well, sorry, Crossy, go ahead.
No, I was going to say just quickly, I always think to be successful, to win a comp, you need a really good mix. You need a good mixture of young guys, some senior guys, and then some middle-of-the-road guys that just try hard every week. And, you're right. So to have those young guys sort of coming through and back to casino is good. So, Troy, did you watch that one?
No, I didn't. But just looking at the scores from the last couple of rounds, Moolumbar had that win 38-36 over Bilamble, and then they had another close loss. So they played in a lot of close games, and I can foresee this one being another close game against Casino, and it's going to be a good one to watch. I look forward to tuning in on Sunday. Queen Elizabeth Park, that's Moolumbar, yeah?
No, that's Casino.
That's out of Casino. Okay.
Okay.
That's sure.
I mean-
That's where you're eating pies and eating chips during the call last year.
While calling. Ooh.
I'm going to dig
That
that
was-
back up. Yeah. That's when you're chomping down on a pie. Well, we're going to cover that in the food. In
The
the
canteen roundup.
Probably
An interesting thing we haven't covered is also Todd Carney didn't take the field this past weekend for Byron. So they played 80 minutes without him, and then that freed up 75 points in their the points cap, which helped them to bring on a couple of new younger players. So that was
Very
interesting.
good.
Apparently he's got a rib injury, be out for a couple more weeks.
He had that rib injury last year. I remember,
Yep.
he was a late withdrawal against Kyle, and you told me you had rib issues. And someone that's got rib issues myself, I can know how that's like.
I mean, I tried to pull it out of Mick Foster, but he didn't give me much. But
Of course not, mate.
there is a thing like if he's worth 75 points, if he's taking up so much of their points cap, is there a role for him to be the coach on the sideline and bring in more hot young gun players in? So yeah, I don't know.
Well, mate, that's some homework for you for during the week, and you can get back to us for next week's podcast. Find that out for us. But you did mention Moolumbar versus Balambal, and that was at Moolumbar. If you're watching on Huddle, you've probably been forgiven that it mightn't been at the Valley at Balambal. If you're hearing over the camera mics, that's just Mick and his mates there in the away grandstand, just chirping away. They probably had a few beers at the Courthouse Hotel beforehand, and oh mate, that was very entertaining. But no, that game was at Balambal, so there was just Mick and his mates from the Valley visiting the inland.
I was going to make a note of it, saying one of the reasons why we were so, vocal for the A grade game is that what we noticed, the Moolumbar Club as a whole, it is almost immaculate in what it does. Just as soon as you arrive, the ticketing, the canteen, everything's perfect. All 4 grades are just meshing so well. Like at the end of the day, the score for Moolumbar, they'd scored in all 4 grades 118 points.
Yeah.
And Balambal had scored 68 in the 4
Wow.
games. So they almost scored twice as many points as our whole teams. But Balambal A grade just come away with the 2 points at the end. So by the time A grade started, we'd already had 3 massive defeats.
Yeah.
Couldn't, penetrate the Murbar defense. And in all fairness, it was a get out of jail free card for Balambal at the end of the day. So
Yeah, and I watched this on Monday, and so as much as I was saying, I should go on the flip side here too with when I was talking about the Balambal Coogin thing. Whilst I said Balambal scored all those points, but yeah, on the same time Balambal has conceded in somewhere in the mid-30s the last 2 games. So
yeah, 36 points each game.
So I feel that Coogins going to have to do well to come up with 36 this time, but at the same time, if they can get their hand, and we'll go into this more detail when we cover round 3, but I think if Coogin start getting their ball control right, Balambal could have some problems. They might not get out of it 3 times.
I think what you're saying is next time Balambal play, hammer the over.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, was that 74 points? 74 points.
Yeah. Imagine being
Smash the
Moolumbar.
over.
Moolumbar scored 36 points and lost.
Yeah.
Like, how often does that happen in a game of footy? So,
Yeah. So to iterate, and I said this about Northern United last year, that you might be able to score 30 points, but if you concede 36 per game, you're not going to win premiership. So I'd like to see how Balambal will go against Coogin on a Tweed Derby, which is going to be, well, the first time under the Nrrrl banner that's been done on the Gold Coast League banner. But just to iterate a bit more of the game, so I could just say if Balambal played like they did in that last quarter, because they had to get 3 tries back to get it, they were down 36-22 heading into the final quarter. And you say, well, did Moolumbar choke? I say no, because Moolumbar didn't do much wrong. There's probably not much they could have done. Their ball control was fine. They played frank. They almost stole it back in the last play. And again, I had all the highlights on Huddle, but because it's overnight, it's 2 a.m. in the US, and that's how they do with because it's a US program, and it's because it's 2 in the morning. That's when they sort of do their like businesses do their maintenance. But for me, I don't think Wollongbar could have escaped that. I mean, they almost got that try right on the buzzer or just before it. But it's just Blamble just did. It was just, and that's what I thought they might do against Wollongbar, and that's why I thought they might win, even though I tipped Wollongbar, is that they just find little spurts, and when they play textbook football. They didn't make a single error. They'll come from the other end of the field, the other, and then they just and again, it's probably iterate what I just said about 5 minutes ago, Mickey, is that all these boys, you can probably put an exclamation mark on it, that they've all known each other since primary school, or some of them have, and it's just like when I just saw the part, it's all such textbook crisp footy. It was just the passes were sticking. They were flying flick passes, just moving up. All the players knew their role. They knew exactly, and it just was done so well. And Wollongbar, in all fairness, didn't have an answer for it, and they couldn't have had an answer for it, and because they played their best. And at the end of the day, but Blamble, I feel like you can't really just get they got away with it on one occasion against Wollongbar. They came close against Ballina. I think they also can't rely on just pulling it out of the fly every time either.
Yeah, no, it was a slow start once again. I think Morelenbus scored in the first set of 6, but it's just fueling that kind of little bit more aggression, a little bit more desperation. And I don't know if you watched any of it, Crossy, any of the highlights or.
I had 5 minutes. I had 5 minutes of highlights. It was that many. Well, I mean, 76 points. You'd think so, but just to go through the try score, it said, in the first 6 minutes, they made it 6-all, then went 6-0, then I went to 6-all, and then it was a bit tit for tat in the first 20-odd minutes. Then Cade Hill did a great line break, and then that's when Morelenbus started getting their momentum. And then off the next play, and this is where we thought, well, maybe Morelenbus were just going to take Blamble to task, was when there was a kick, and then there was a knock-on on Blamble's 20, and then off the next play, off the back of the scrum, Wollongbar scored. And then I think Khan Rhodes beat one of the try scorers. Tyson Donnelly scored a couple as well. But Khan Rhodes, he did a special try where he came from the 10 metres, ran back onto the 20, and then slipped it in. And then there was a little flick pass in the corner. Mickey, who scored that one?
Yeah, it was Khalees Haas. Khalees Haas scored off Khan doing that. Yeah, just something out of nothing, and never saying quit. So
yeah, so then you go to the 62nd minute. Cade Hill scores his second, making it 36-22, and you think, well, Moolumbar, it's just by about how much. Blamble had their moments, but then that special last quarter of the game, Blamble just clicked in, just found this, found their groove like they did in portions against Ballina, and so that's why this game against Coogin is going to be an interesting one. I feel that if it could go one or two ways, but I'll go more into depth about it. But Shory, what did you think of that? Did you catch any of that one?
No, mate, not at all. Too much football for me for one weekend.
Absolutely,
that's such a thing.
Hey, Mickey, I will just a little bit of commentary around that game. I watched it today, the highlights. I watched it on fast mode. Tell you what, mate, who's the 13 for Blamble? I thought he just worked all day.
Mate, that's Jackson Springer. So he was one of our best players coming through. He was in the Titans 20s. He moved over to Canada. He played in the USA and the California League and stuff as well. And he come back. He didn't play against Ballina. First game back, scores 2 tries. He was phenomenal in his first game back. And he might be injured though. He might have done something to his hand. So could be out this week. So fingers crossed. But yeah, he's just a great player to have around the club too. Like, it was a massive boost when he come back for everyone. And getting a player like that gets the other players back and gets another player back. Yeah, Jackson Springer, he's a fantastic player.
Mate, just a goer. Yeah, you want him fit for this week because that's obviously a big game. So that would be a big loss. But it was great to watch. Tommy Rolls got you out of jail there at the end with a great try. Similar to Michael Drain's try, except it wasn't quite as far.
Well, I joked. I didn't joke. I was serious. I thought he only ran about 10 metres, and then he pulled me up on it. And then we double checked today, and it was more like 14. I'll give him a little bit more, but he was a fair whack, 25 metres, and he done well. So
okay, so that was candidate for game of the year, no doubt. So we'll just see what else this 2020 season springs up. But so that covers all 5 of the games and some great ones in there. And there'll be more to be told about what's happening in round 3. So, but just to give you the table. So Byron, as I made mention there, they come out on, they're on 4 points with a differential 28. They're so far on first. Then you got Tweed Coast actually on second with 26 differential. And Ballina, the only other undefeated team, on 24. So only 4 points separates first and third. So not much, not much breathing room even for the second round. Then you go Northern United, complete the 4. They on 2. They've actually got 26 points. Now, here's the thing. When I pay homage to their defense, like, how's this for an improvement? So they're on 18. They've only conceded 18 points. I think, is that right? So they conceded 12 against, actually, no, sorry.
Yeah.
So they considered 12 against. I'll have to get back on that one. I just
It was 12 against Coogin and
12.
Mullen put 16 or something on them, didn't
Yeah,
they?
so
Or-
28. So I think that's a bit of a typo on my end. But anyway, I'll have to double check on that. I was about to say they had the best defensive record in the comp so far, but it's not far off. They probably still might have it, but I'll get that edited. Then we got Morris Brothers in 5th, Mullum on 6, Belamble on 7 for differential. Actually, Mullum and Belamble are tied on -10. And then you've got Moorlambar, Casino, and then Coogin rounding out the 10. Okay, so round 3 of action. So with the tips, so me and Crossy, you and I got 4 once again, 4 out of 5.
No, you didn't. No way.
Yeah, Byron.
Did you?
And you know what the good thing is about YouTube and video? We can go back and watch it over again.
What did I get?
You actually
again?
3 out of 5 because Belamble, like, that paid well for you, and then you missed out on Coogin and Mullum, and
Yeah, right.
Crossy, you had so
I missed Belamble.
I missed Moorlambar. So, and here's the master tipster, Sure Thing Shory. 2.
5 out of 5?
2.
What?
Byron and Norman's the only 2 you picked. So
Check the tape,
2?
Shory.
and mate,
Shocking.
and you know what? That's when you're not doing your homework.
Huddle was down. I got
Oh,
away with
no,
it.
no, it wasn't.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. You were just
Technical issues.
No, you were just growing passion for it. All right. Okay, so let's go through round 3. So Belamble and Coogin. Mickey, I know the drill we've used, mate. I'll just throw Belamble in there.
Yeah, I reckon this will be the first week you tip Belamble, surely.
Yeah, I agree. I think Coogin. I can see how they might win. Because as I said, as much as for the same reason why Coogins' attack's probably not been as good as it has been, neither has Belamble's defense. And I just think that they can't just rely on a spurt of 10 meters. I reckon 10 minutes to beat Coogin, because Coogin has got the players to do the attack, but at the same time, they if they can make as many line breaks as they can, but they need to get the ball to stick. So I'm going to say Belamble, also with a home advantage, but has a recipe to be a cracker. Crossy.
Pretty hard to tip Coogin after watching them the last 2 weeks. Although you would imagine Caleb Zeeble got better again last week. If a couple of guys can just follow him, then they can get their year back on track. But the Jets, I love what I saw the last 15, 20 minutes or so. So let's back the Jets.
And Shory.
I'll go Jets too.
Belamble. Don't offer any insight at all, or is homework in your notebook very thin?
I watched Coogin play Byron, and they were a bit lackluster. Belamble coming on hot, they can score a lot of points, and I just don't see Coogin having as many points in them as Belamble do.
Okay. Next game is at Mullum. Is Mullum versus Tweed Coast Raiders. I'm going to say the Raiders. I just think not only are they defending well, they can prove that they can score the points. Could be a close one. Wouldn't surprise me if Mullum pull off an upset, but I just think it's the Raiders to lose. Shory.
Yeah, I'm going to go Raiders as well. I think they looked really good against Casino. I think they looked really disciplined and a lot of attacking options and a lot of points in them. So I like the Raiders against Mullum. I'm going to go out and watch that game. So
Okay.
I'll be reporting live.
Well, but aren't you on Gold Coast League duties that day, or are you just gonna?
Oh, yeah, well, I may be. Well, I haven't got the call yet. I haven't got confirmation. So
We'll get that
yeah,
sorted. We'll get that sorted, Mickey.
All right, make it happen.
Yeah, Mullum,
Yeah.
Tweeko. So you're like,
I'm going to say Tweed Coast. I think I don't know if you've noticed Cal Rouston went down. He hurt his ankle. I think it was like a ligament strain or something. Drew was saying he might be out for 1 or 2 weeks, which is pretty good. I mean, he's a pretty good player, and he definitely gets the big roll on for the Tweed Coast Raiders. But I just think maybe if you lose a front rower, it's not going to just the depth that they've kind of got, and it's the willingness for any player who plays A grade to just go out and give 1,000%. They're rolling at the moment. So yeah. I liked Mullum as well coming into the season. They'll have the home ground advantage, but yeah, I'll just tip Tweed Coast.
and Crossy, who do you like?
Yeah, hard to go past the Raiders. Now that I've heard Lyndon McGrady's there, he's class. And with him and Tane Robinson, they can form a very formidable partnership in the halves there. Although, Rory Lillis and Jamie Hill and a few of those tough Mullum boys at Mullum can put up a show. But I think the Raiders will have too much class.
Now, here's going to be a fiery one because there's about 4 boys who are wearing Byron colours, and it's always fierce between the Byron and Lismore rivalry, and then they've all come back home. So, Morris Brothers and Byron Bay. This is going to be a tough one for me. I would have said Byron, but that's before Anastasia was counting her pre-polling in the Queensland election and shut the borders. So, I'm going to go on a whim.
Not a political podcast, Dwayne.
Yeah, well, I mean, there'll be room for that. But anyway, I'm going to say Morris Brothers now, knowing that, because they're going to be the least effective, and they've shown that they can do it. I think Byron, their record in Lismore, playing away in Lismore, was also a bit patchy too. They've just known to slip up. So I'm going to go the upset there. So again, I'm going to reserve judgment and say if Byron have the same players that they in the last 2 weeks, they would win. They'd probably win by about, say, anywhere between 8 and 12 points. But rules, I think, with the rules in place then, knowing what I know, I'm going to say Morris because they'll probably be the least affected, and they'll have all their players firing, and they showed that they can match it with the likes of Ballina. So I'm going to say Morris, probably just. Sorry.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Even if Byron were able to field the same team they have for the past 2 weeks, they've had 2 home ground advantages, but this is a massive unknown, and going to Lismore is always tougher. And if they don't have some of their players, it's going to shake up the comp here. I know we don't want to think about it too much, but bloody hell, reality is going to hit us in the face really shortly.
Yeah, I think it is what it is, and without Carney as well. So
yeah, he's coming down from up the coast. So, yeah, I'll go with my head and not my heart, and I'll back the Morris to take this one.
Okay, and Mickey?
And I say if Todd Carney plays Byron Bay, and if he doesn't, Lismore.
Yeah, okay.
I know I said that. You have to say
it.
Big asterisk. Put the big asterisk next to it.
Yeah.
I don't think, from what I heard last week, I think he's going to sit this one out, and he'll come back against Ballina, I believe.
So I'll put you
All
down
right,
for Morris. Yeah.
Yep.
And Crossy.
Boys, that makes 4 of us, irrespective of who plays for the Bay. I still think this will be their biggest test. I think round 1 against Coogin were awful, as we've discussed. I think last week against Mullum, Edwards was sent off and Roy Lillis in the sin bin. I don't think they've had much attack thrown at them. And I think, as you said, Nev, Brothers weren't far off Ballina on the weekend, who, in my opinion, are still the benchmark. So I actually think Brothers will win this on the weekend. And I think if there's a bit of end-to-end footy and they keep that ball in play and get a bit of fatigue in the game, I think the Bay are quite vulnerable. So I'd say Brothers by 12 or 18 points.
Okay, so now the next one, Casino at home to Mooloolaba Mustangs. So it's a bit of a road trip for the Mustangs. I don't seem like they had a couple of they've slipped up the last 2. I don't see them slipping up again. But Casino they won't be held to 6 like they did the last week. But yeah, there's room there for an upset. But I think Mooloolaba, they've got too much attack on the field to there's too much. Like, these boys played in grand finals last year, and but that being said, Casino could really pull it out. But I think Mooloolaba by about a couple of tries. I think. Crossy.
Yeah, Nev. I think you and I called that prelim game at Stan Circum last year, Casino and
when Roy Bell got sent off? You did the first one. There was two of them, so you did the first one.
That's right.
Sure, he did the first, like the one where Roy got sent.
Yeah, sure, he called that one. But I remember, I was there. And if you had said to us then that those two teams would be round 3 next year and looking for their first win, you'd be scratching your head. But that's the position that they're in. This is a toss a coin game to me, because I think on one hand, I think Mooloombah will have a little bit too much in attack for Casino, but I think Casino at home with all effort could really turn up and do something. So I might tip the Cougars with no confidence, but I'll tip the Cougars in an upset.
Okay. And it's because you've got about your old Casino mates saying you've got the Cougars colours on, or is it the Queensland colours in there you've converted now that with today's announcement?
You won't see me in Queensland colours, pal.
Oh, mate. Without getting too offside there, Mickey, I'll get to your tips in a sec. I said this was, if there was any chance, because I go the other way, if there's any chance of me changing my allegiance to New South Wales, this would have been it. Probably just not yet. So I've still got the maroon jerseys tucked away there somewhere. But, mate, I'm itching to grab a Blues one the way all this stuff is going with all these border politics. But anyway, sorry, Mickey, you go next.
I was just going to say, even if we want to go back to last season, the last game both these two played were a loss, plus the two this year were losses. So both teams technically 3 losses in a row. Looking at 4 losses in a row, that's unheard of for Mooloombah or Casino. So it's probably never happened, to tell you the truth, that one of these two clubs have lost their first 3 games of the year. So I kind of want to go with Crossy and because it's at Casino, but Mooloombah, they seriously played really well on the weekend. They done nothing wrong.
Yeah, that's
scored
right.
36 points. So I think I will say Mooloombah.
And sure.
I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to tip Casino. I think they need to win here, and they're going to have the win right up them. I'm sure the coach and the club, they know with this shortened season, they can't have 3 losses in a row. They're playing at home. They only lost to Marist by 6 points, 1 try. We know how strong Marist are, so we know they do have the ability there. Though I'm not confident because they haven't, only scored 10 and 6 points, so they're going to need to find some points in them.
Right.
So if they can work on that during the week and attack that line a bit better, and they can maybe win. But anybody's game.
Okay, got about 6 minutes Zoom time left, so we'll just quickly go through Ballina Northern quickly. So Ballina Northern, as I said, this will be the true test for Northern United to see where they really stand in the comp. They've shown that they've proven as well that they're going to be, if they're not the top 4, not far off it. And Ballina has shown that whilst they're still consistent, they're not as the comp dominators that they've been of like the last year or so. At Kingston Smith Park, I'm going to say Ballina just close because they know how to grind teams away. But and as Crossy, as you may have mentioned, my concern with Northern is whilst they put their foot on the pedal for the first 3 quarters of the game, they kind of gassed out. They got away with it against Coogin because they kind of got they had the ips in attack. Ballina won't have that. Ballina then will then count that for about 3 or 4 tries just off that. If so, Northern will have to play a full 80, I reckon, to win. I just think Ballina, being the team that they are, and I think they'll win by I'm going to say 10. I reckon it'll be a close one. But Crossy, what do you think?
Yeah, Ballina will be winning this game. Love watching Northern play last week, but Ballina through the middle, their middle is so good with Ritter and Douglas and Hanson. I sort of tend to think it might be close at half time, but after that, I think they might really run away with it. So the Seagulls for me.
Mickey?
Yeah, I think Shorey mentioned about Ballina being thrown off by the quarters, and I think that's the only way that Northern United are going to get the jump on them. Maybe if they score early, they kind of slow it down, just squeezing the envelope as much as they can with their conversions and stuff like that. By the time they score 2 tries, might be quarter time, put Ballina out of their rhythm. But, if they can't do that, I'm going to go Ballina as well. They're just a bit too consistent.
And sure, are you going to throw a spanner in the works here, or you? But
so I'm going to tip Northern to win half-time but Ballina to win full time.
Oh, mate.
Yeah, right.
This is not exotic betting.
Mate,
This is get bonus points.
mate. Did you go out to Wilson's Creek and see old mate out on the weekend who wanted that flutter on Mullum? Is that it, or are you running it? You've got, as I said in the first ever podcast show, you got a few fingers, here, there, and everywhere. So
You could start an illegal sports book. Anyone, my DMs are open.
wait, you said it, not me. Nothing. But anyway, that's the tips in for round 3, and there they are, right there. So there's none of that.
Still don't
Mickey.
believe it.
Right there, it's in writing. My handwriting might not be.
I thought
You're
I got
very-
4. I thought I got 4 out of 5.
Dwayne's very good with Photoshop.
Oh yeah, but it hasn't landed me in a job yet. So all right, guys. So pumped for round 3. Hopefully, there's not too much politics with the border, and everyone can be where they are. That's for another day. But we're gonna see some great footy on the weekend, and we'll want to be back here. So as I said, week by week, and it's great so far. So.
Cool.
So Shory, wherever you end up on Sunday, hopefully you enjoy it. And Crossy, I know that you've sent now a proud Queenslander with that maroon, so you'll be tucked there in isolation at Palm Beach or wherever it is, and you'll have Mark Off Media on one channel as you do. And mate, I really hope that Common Sense presents
TV on another.
Yeah, that's it. He's all set. But I hope Common Sense
That's it.
prevails, mate, and then you and I aren't separated for too long. I just think,
That's it.
personally, I think it's ridiculous, but that's for another day. And Mickey, I'll see you on Sunday, brother.
Down the valley. Let's go.
Yeah, okay. So that is all for the Duaneo podcast, episode 10, and the Nrrrl episode 3. Enjoy the footy. Get out there and support your team wherever you're watching. Hit subscribe here on the channel too here so you don't miss anything here. And we've got audio formats on iTunes and Spotify, or if you don't want to see us talking away as it is. And hit subscribe and enjoy your weekend and enjoy your evening tonight. Thank you very much. Have a good night.